I didn't expect the message. Not from her. Not that soon. It was 5:42 p.m. when it appeared on my lock screen. Short, clipped, almost urgent. Family dinner at 6 p.m. Important discussion. 14 minutes from now. No apology, no mention of the birthday she'd ignored, no acknowledgement of the fact that she'd spent the entire afternoon at my brother's estate, the man whose shadow I'd apparently lived in my whole life. I stared at the text longer than necessary. Not because I was confused, because I had finally run out of ways to pretend I didn't understand her anymore. Her absence that morning, her dress, too elegant for a casual barbecue, her lipstick, fresh, deliberate, red, and the look she gave me before leaving, that small hesitation, that flicker of guilt she tried to bury under a smile. I felt something shift inside me then. Not anger, not sadness, just a cold, steady realignment of truth. People don't lie because they're cruel. They lie because they think they won't be caught. My phone buzzed again. Please come, don't be late. The desperation in that second message didn't match the indifference of the first. Something had changed. Not in her, in me. I picked up my keys, walked out of my office, and headed straight to the family dinner she suddenly needed, because an hour earlier the news had broken about my hotel chain. The valuation, the expansion, the $780 million headline she hadn't seen coming. And now she wanted to talk. Of course she did. I remember the moment I realized something was wrong between us. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't loud, it was a Tuesday morning. She was making coffee. I asked how her night was. Fine, she said, too quickly, too practiced. And then she added, your brother said hi. As if it was nothing, as if it didn't explain why she returned home smelling like his brand of cologne. My brother, Marcus. Richer, louder, always the sun people orbited. I'd spent most of my life being compared to him. Strangely, I didn't mind. I liked staying in the quiet, in the shadows, until I realized shadows are where betrayals grow unnoticed. Her excuses became predictable. Her smiles, thinner. Her phone, always face down. But I didn't accuse, didn't confront, didn't chase explanations from someone who had already stopped offering them. Instead, I watched, collected details, waited. It wasn't the potential affair that cut deepest. It was the assumption that I'd never see it, that I was too passive, too trusting, too harmless. Maybe I was, back then. But the quiet ones always notice first. We just pretend we don't, and pretending had become her specialty. The skipped birthday wasn't a surprise. The BBQ at Marcus's mansion wasn't either. What surprised me was how calmly I accepted it. Almost like I was waiting for her to make one final, unforgivable mistake. And she did. I started with the simple things. Her location history, her bank statements, her messages, most deleted, some sloppily forgotten. I didn't need passwords. She'd grown too comfortable, too careless. I found small things at first. Lunches that didn't match her calendar. Lyft rides to unknown addresses that looked remarkably like my brother's guest house. Calls made late at night, always under the guise of anxiety or insomnia. And the photographs. Not of them, no, they weren't that stupid. But I saw reflections, shadows, the angle of a jaw I knew all too well. Still, I didn't jump to conclusions. Truth deserves certainty. So I dug deeper. Phone backups, cloud archives, deleted files resurrected like ghosts begging to be acknowledged. Patterns emerged. Her time with him increased. Her time with me shrank. And her sudden interest in our finances, my finances, grew like a vine choking whatever was left of our marriage. I found emails she never meant me to see, conversations about future stability, comments about choosing someone with more potential, and a single line that stayed in my mind longer than I wanted. He's loyal. He won't leave. He doesn't have it in him. Loyal, predictable, weak. I wondered how long she'd believed that, how long I had allowed her to. But investigations aren't emotional, they're methodical. I hired a private analyst, not a PI, not someone who tails or photographs, someone who specializes in data patterns, behavioral anomalies, and financial forensics. Cold truth leaves no fingerprints. What he found in 48 hours rewired everything. Fallout timelines, suspicious deposits, coordinated absences. It wasn't just emotional betrayal, it was preparation. She was positioning herself, preparing for a life without me, but only if that life came with something more lucrative. I wasn't meant to know, but I did. And then the hotel chain valuation broke, the number she never expected. Suddenly, I was no longer the predictable one. I was the jackpot she'd miscalculated. The evidence arrived in a single encrypted folder. Timestamps, data trails, encrypted conversations she thought were untraceable. Not a full affair, not yet, but the intent was unmistakable. Emotional collusion, financial scheming, strategic betrayal. A partnership built on my absence, or rather, her belief that I lacked the intelligence to uncover it. At 5:58 p.m., I walked into my own dining room. She and Marcus were already seated. She stood quickly, too quickly. Her eyes were bright, nervous, calculating. "You came," she whispered, almost relieved. I didn't answer. I simply placed a single folder on the table. The room went still. She reached for it. Her hand shook. What is this?" Marcus shifted, feigning confusion. He was good at it, always had been. But guilt has a temperature, and the room suddenly felt warm. She opened the folder, saw the data, the messages, the transfer attempts, the meetups, the timeline. Her face collapsed in slow motion. "I can explain," she breathed. I didn't ask her to. I didn't need explanations from someone who had already practiced them. I just watched, calm, detached, almost clinically observant, as the truth gutted her. Marcus tried to speak. I raised a hand. Silence returned instantly. Revenge isn't rage. Rage is sloppy. Revenge is clarity. I sat down slowly, deliberately. "I received an interesting call today," I said quietly. "My company went public with its valuation." They knew that part. Everyone did. What they didn't know was what came next. "I consolidated the ownership," I continued, "moved the assets, restructured the holdings." My wife blinked. "When?" 2 months ago. Her mouth opened, closed, opened again. Because 2 months ago was when she began pulling away, when the visits to Marcus started, when the planning began. She had built her betrayal on outdated information. I leaned back. I also updated my beneficiaries. Her breath caught. And, I added, filed preliminary divorce documents this afternoon. Her knees buckled against the chair. Marcus looked away, jaw locked. I slid a second envelope toward her. Her name wasn't on it. My lawyer's was. "This," I said, "is the full outline of your conversations and financial maneuvers. It will not go to court unless you attempt to dispute the divorce or claim assets." She stared at the envelope like it was a detonator. "I'm giving you one gift," I said softly. "You get to walk away quietly. That's all." Her voice finally broke. "Please, don't do this." But she had already done it. I simply responded in kind. Calm, measured, final. I left the house without looking back. I didn't need to see her fall apart. The truth had already done its job. Outside, the air felt colder, cleaner, sharper. People think betrayal destroys you. It doesn't. It rearranges you, shows you who you were and who you refuse to be again. As I reached my car, my phone buzzed. A final message from her. "Can we talk?" I didn't open it. Some conversations aren't worth having. Some people aren't worth saving. And some birthdays aren't meant to be celebrated, they're meant to be remembered as the day you finally woke up. I unlocked the car, slid inside, and started the engine. For the first time in years, the silence felt like mine. And as I drove away, one truth settled in, quiet and absolute. Losing her wasn't a tragedy. Trusting her was.